Welcome to Living Legacy Leadership, where you'll be introduced to insights, tools, and strategies to leverage creative living and giving. I'm your host, Donna Kim Brand, creative brain trainer and legacy strategy coach. I help change makers and late career professionals who are deciding what's next to find out what will thrill you and fulfill you, adding meaningful value in your next stage of life. The guests and show content I bring to you each week all address some unique aspect of learning, leadership, or legacy. This helps you raise your own game as a leader in business and life, and also showcases some extraordinary people who exemplify living legacy leadership. At least once a month, I also offer a training session to skill you in game changer thinking for your own application. So, get your notebook ready or sharpen your memory by tuning your attention, and we will dive right in. Now, we're thrilled today to welcome back the kaleidoscopic Minx Boren.
Wow.
Hi.
Hi.
Now, I'm having to truncate your bio here because we could spend the whole show talking about your areas of expertise and your achievements, but we'll just do the short version. Now, Minx is a master certified coach, credentialed through the International Coach Foundation. She's also a writer, a poet, motivational speaker, and workshop facilitator. Minx is an author of 4 books of poetry, plus 2 for Blue Mountain Arts Publishers that are a combination of poetry and prose. And she's co-author of 8 books for women. Minx is past president of Executive Women of the Palm Beaches and has served as a board member of the Women's Foundation of Florida for a dozen years. She's also a 2013 recipient of the Giraffe Award, which is presented by the Women's Chamber of Commerce to women who stick their necks out for others, as Minx often does. Now, most recently, she's become an activist for Elders Action Network and is about to co-facilitate a 6-week program entitled The Empowered Elder, focused on sustainable living, climate change, and encouraging ecological consciousness and sacred activism. Now, one last thing I want to mention before we dive into our conversation is that Minx is a longtime advocate and a life coach for 20 years who focuses on health-wise lifestyle practices with a background in nutrition and teaching healthy cooking. And she's now more than ever passionate about the importance of supportive and sustainable food choices, practices, packaging, and distribution. So, gosh, amongst all these amazing things we could chat about today, Minx, let's tackle today the whole notion about never being too old for courageous creativity. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you have a whole lot of things on your mind, but in chatting with you recently, you've had creativity at the forefront these days. So share with us a little about what you're thinking there.
So first of all, as the title that we decided on for today, courageous creativity. We're never too old. It's an ongoing process of allowing ourselves to continually think out of the box and think newly and see possibilities. So we as humans are creative by nature. We cannot not be. It's how we are wired. We're always looking for, what might be possible? Always being curious and looking at what next.
That's for sure. And certainly, I mean, what's propelled you all these years in terms of your achievements and accomplishments and contributions, I'm sure was fueled in part by that creative nature. So beyond the definition and looking at some of the things that I mentioned in your introduction, what about Elders Action Network? Now, what's going on with that, and how do you bring creativity into that?
So first of all, when we're talking about creativity, we need to expand our definition and recognize that it's more than what we consider art and includes the ways we respond to life with fresh eyes and fresh ideas ongoingly. For example, what's on my mind at age 73 is that I'm now involved with Elders Action Network, which is an activist organization looking to address some of the very challenging and difficult issues of our times. And what I'm doing is bringing my years and years of facilitation experience into that arena in order to train to deliver their program, which is titled The Empowered Elder. I actually took the program earlier this winter and then said I would love to help continue this and be part of it. So it starts next week.
Wow, that's cool.
I'm really excited about it. And so another aspect of creativity is the need to keep stretching out of our comfort zone and experimenting with new mediums the way that any artist does. So I'm learning and sharing about what's happening on the planet and all the ways that we can take positive and powerful action.
Wow, that's amazing. And especially when we consider that, you and I think you're a little ahead of me in the game of years on the planet and so on, but nonetheless, we are in this group called seniors, as many on the SOB Radio Network are, and it requires us to keep stretching out of our comfort zone with all the new technology, all the new ways of expressing living and trying to make a difference, and even bringing all the years of our life experience to bear in a way that's received by the younger generation so we can make contributions. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. So do you want to the ways how you deal with creativity, what you're doing that's in this creative arena right now? Because I know that you're taking your coaching focus to some next level. So want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, a couple things. Legacy strategy coaching, as I said in the introduction to the show, is really about using our creativity to design what's next in ways that we take a good look at all the parts of our past experience, our skill set, and what matters to us, what's needed in the world, where we want to make a contribution or an impact, and pulling all those things together and leaving behind what we don't want to be carrying around with us anymore, and living into our future that we create based on what matters to us. So that's one thing. Another thing that, when I hear the news or just even at work or working with groups of people, and, I have 3 children in their 20s and 30s, and their views are very often so strident. And in the bigger sense, not just my kids, bigger picture of how people are communicating these days, we seem to have become entrenched in points of view and become very strident and even polarized. Whereas if we use creativity in those circumstances, we can ask, why do you think that way? Or why is it that you hold that point of view? And use our creativity to design ways forward that serve everybody at a higher level, rather than just getting stuck and becoming adversarial. So those are just a couple quick examples.
It's a great example.
Well, thank you.
One of the most things that we do as coaches is to get people to reconsider, look again, and move out of their limited mindsets, or take off their blinders, or see beyond the way that they've always seen things, which is where things happen.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So if we get back to the ways you've got to cultivate creativity, what else do you suggest or offer up?
Exactly what we were talking about. We need to make space for creativity to happen. So I know that, for example, that you've been clearing out files and making space for new ideas and programs, and I've been making space recently to write a poem a day. What happened is first of all, I'm a lifelong journal keeper, and I teach workshops on journaling. And I love to say that what I'm doing is really allowing myself to be surprised on the page. Not writing what I know or what I did, but what I'm thinking about or what might be possible.
Awesome.
Then I went on and I read a book called On the Brink of Everything by Parker J. Palmer, which I highly recommend. He's 80 years old and still looking at what now. And one of the things he talked about is he had to give up the idea of being published again so that he could write what wanted to come from his soul without self-editing to try to fit it into some mold. And so when I read that, I said, okay, I'm going to go back to writing a poem a day. It doesn't have to be good, certainly doesn't have to be great. It just has to be on the page. So it's a stretch every day. If I have nothing to write about, one day I wrote about my Birkenstocks. One day I wrote about my silver nail polish. And other days it's something more significant. It's just the very act of being willing to be surprised and play with the words that show up.
And you do that so well, and so I don't know if I need to get down on my knees and beg you, pretty please, would you be willing to share one of your poems with us today?
Of course I would.
Oh, thank you.
I knew you were going to ask, so I looked at a couple and I decided this one would probably resonate well with our audience today. Here goes. Stay in the life you are in. Stop wandering wistfully into the more grand and glamorous days and ways of others. Let this day and this experience and this connection and this creative expression, the one that is truly yours, let it be enough. And reach beyond the life you are in. Stay open to opportunities. Beyond the current beliefs and mindset, thrust your whole self forward into your discomfort zone for the sake of your own magnificence, for the sake of your dream of yourself.
Whoa, Minx. That's nice. I like that a lot. That's very profound. I love that notion of your discomfort zone. Wow. Mm-hmm. Incredible. Was there any particular inspiration for that?
Probably because I was looking at, my guess is I was looking or thinking about someone and what a great job they were doing, and they were doing more or better or something, and always pulling myself back to, so what's mine to do? What can I do today?
Mm-hmm.
Within, we get so in awe of great people doing great things that we don't just stay within, well, what can I do? And it may not be as splashy or as big or as amazing as we think someone else is, but it's still ours. I remember someone asking Mother Teresa, because she was so inspired, what can I do? What can I do? I want to help you. I want to do something like this. And she said, go home and love your children.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Whatever we're doing, do it magnificently. Do
Lovely.
it with all our heart.
Yeah, beautiful. And the reality is, I mean, with the incredible bio I introduced you with, and your whole background as a nutritionist and in that field, I understand you've taken up also creating a recipe a day as well as a poem a day?
Yeah, that's kind of a new inspiration. It's also a way to get me out of my computer and all the work that I'm doing for Elders Action and just turn on a whole other part of my brain. So what happened was, because I'm looking at ways to support planet sustainability, I started to go back to my roots and think about food. And that led me, I actually took 24 hours of classes, of webinars that were given by Ocean and John Robbins for a program called the Food Revolution. So 3 hours a day, every day. Actually, I did them twice, so I would listen to them again, taking notes. And by the second day, I decided, okay, I'm going to go back and play with being a vegan again. And I was a vegan for 12 years and actually taught vegan cooking. And then for one reason or another, I made changes, always healthy changes, but I moved away from being vegan now as a statement for the planet and the cost of what it costs the planet to produce, develop